Good evening and welcome to Amigos y Amistad, a cultural music experience. Tonight you're going to be hearing from two different artists as well as seeing a multimedia production. The first person will be Zul Bailey, Grammy Award-winning cellist, and then secondly you'll be hearing from Hal Marcus, the artist who did the cover art for the CD. And then finally, you'll be watching a multimedia production that will be done in sync with the track from the album. And it will feature artists who Tom Lee knew and did art at the same time that he did. And so you'll be seeing photos as well as their artwork. So we hope that you enjoy this evening, and thank you for watching.
Hello, Hal Marcus here. I'm here working with the Tom Lee Institute and also with Pro Musica. And behind me, we have this beautiful drafting table by Tom Lee and all of his art supplies. And also on the other side of me, we have some paintings that I brought from my private collection of Tom Lee. Both of them are originals. One was done in 1932, and the other one was done in 1993. And you can see in the one in 1993 that it's very abstract, very cubistic. And that's because Mr. Lee at that time had macular degeneration, and he was starting to kind of use this kind of cubistic technique in his artwork. I had the honor of meeting Mr. Tom Lee one day, and I asked him, I was at the Adair Margot Gallery, I asked him if he could give me any advice as a young artist, and he looked at me right in the eye and he said, "Do your art every day." Very good advice. It's the same advice I would give to an aspiring artist. So the way I got involved with the Pro Musica is that I was approached by Felipa Solis, the director of Pro Musica, and she said, "Why don't we do a soiree in your home and in your gallery, and it'll be a beautiful night, and Zul Bailey will play over here in your backyard in your gazebo." So we planned it 6 months in advance, and we had wine and cheese and hors d'oeuvres, and everything was all set. It was supposed to start at 8 o'clock. Well, lo and behold, at 7 o'clock, there was a terrific rainstorm, and we thought we were going to have to cancel it. But at 8 o'clock, it cleared up. It was a beautiful, beautiful evening, and there was a huge rainbow, the biggest rainbow I've ever seen, right on top of where Zul Bailey was playing, in the gazebo. So I immediately thought, man, this is going to make a perfect work of art. That week, I started doing some drawings, and about 3 or 4 months later, I had come up with this composition from my drawings of Zul Bailey playing this cello that's golden. It was actually real gold leaf, and it's kind of bent, and there's a sun, and there's a rainbow, and all these little particles of music going all around him. Very cubistic, very similar to the Tom Lee that he did in 1993. So it turned out to be a very successful, beautiful event, and that's how I created the painting, which is now, so many years later, on the cover of Zul's new CD. And so fast forward to 2015, a couple of years later, the El Paso Symphony wanted me to create a work of art. And so Michael Tomar from the El Paso Museum of Art consulted me to have a one-man show, and El Paso Symphony wanted a work of art to auction as a fundraiser. And coincidentally, Marc Chagall had one of his famous green violinist pieces that they borrowed from the Guggenheim on display. So I came up with the idea of the green cellist using Zul Bailey inside of the Plaza Theater. And so that painting was created, and incidentally, they had a big event where they had a dinner, and they auctioned off that painting for $17,000. And at the end of the night, the gentleman who bought it gave it back to the El Paso Symphony, and a year later they sold it again at another big event. So that's how I got involved with the Tom Lee Institute, with Pro Musica, the El Paso Symphony, and that's why I'm here today, and I'm so honored to be standing in front of the drafting table by the one and only Tom Lee.
Hello, I'm Zul Bailey, cellist and artistic director of El Paso Pro Musica, and I'm thrilled to be here with you today. Can't believe it, 2021. And 2021 for me is also even more special because I'm celebrating my 20th anniversary being here in El Paso, Texas. I would have never thought in 2001, a little visit to this city would have kept me here and actually become where I come from. And that's what I want to talk to you about for a few minutes today, where I come from. I come from El Paso. Wherever I travel in the world as the ambassador for El Paso, I am so thrilled to talk about all the wonderful things that are happening here. I also come from a long lineage of cellists, and my great-grandfather cellist, Gregor Piatigorsky from Russia, taught all of my teachers. I had many that studied with him. And that's going to be kind of a theme of today, to bring those two worlds together during what would have been, and what it actually is, our El Paso Pro Musica Festival this month. So a few years ago, I was lucky enough to be invited to a Hal Marcus event. He's an artist here in town that's celebrated not only here, but throughout the region, also nationally, to play. And I took a carbon fiber cello and I sat in the moonlight and played. And he sat in the corner with the audience to the side and began sketching. I didn't know what was happening at the time. But with that magical evening came something that became very inspiring. With El Paso Pro Musica, one of the things that we try to do is we try to bring all of the arts together in any way we possibly can. We started off back in the early days of bringing music into the museums to make the soundtrack to these wonderful paintings and historic documents at the museum, and also to bring the audiences together to celebrate the arts. Little did I know that evening with Hal Marcus that we would be celebrating the arts in a much bigger way. So about a year after that magical evening at Hal Marcus's gallery, he presented me with a painting called The Music Man. And that's me with my carbon fiber instrument. It actually looks very similar to my carbon fiber instrument because there are no angles on my carbon fiber instrument. It's a unique tool that El Paso Pro Musica got for us so I could play music with no borders in this city, where there would be no weather issues or climate issues or anything else. It's an indestructible instrument. So he presented this to me, and I was so inspired by the fantasy of it all. The fact that that really did sum up that amazing evening. That the next project on my recording list to celebrate where I also come from, Gregor Piatigorsky, was the wonderful Walton Cello Concerto, recording the Walton Cello Concerto, as well as Strauss's tone poem, Don Quixote. Now, what I mean by tone poem is it's exactly like Hal Marcus's inspiration. Richard Strauss said, "I can tell you any story through music, and as you hear the music, you will see the story through the sounds." With Hal Marcus, he tells a story of that wonderful, incredible evening through the sights of his pencil and paint. So, I couldn't be happier to say that my latest disc, the Walton Cello Concerto, recorded live with the North Carolina Symphony, as well as the Strauss Don Quixote, has on its cover Hal Marcus's The Music Man, bringing my worlds together from the long lineage of my teachers, as well as my hometown of El Paso, Texas. A dream come true. Thank you, Hal Marcus. Thank you for the Tom Lee Institute. Thank you for the city of El Paso and the celebration of the arts, the supporting of the arts. This community, we could not do it without you. Felipe Solis, our wonderful executive director. It's an inspired day, brand new year, and thank you so much for letting me be a small part of it. To end today's little celebration, I'd like to play kind of how I wake up each day with my historic cello built in 1693. This is Bach Prelude No. 1 in G major. Thanks again for your generous support.
Thank you.